Hi, publicans. Welcome to our first reader, Ask Me Anything. And I would like to introduce you to Dante. You know him. Hi, Dante.
Hi,
He's uh,
guys.
he's our community manager and administrator for the Publica supporters that we call the publicans, and all the publicans know Dante. And we have been looking forward to getting Dante on air for a long time. We're pretty far apart at the moment physically. I'm in Florida, USA. Dante, you are where?
I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Okay. So let's go to the other side of the planet and introduce you to Bland McCartha. Bland is what we call an independent Publica guide. And we'll be talking more about that a lot because it's a role that Bland has pretty much invented himself in person, although it was mentioned in our first white paper. But today, in this Reader Ask Me Anything, Bland is going to represent, I think that's Amazon headquarters out there behind you, isn't it?
right out that window.
In any case, he is a really long-time Amazon subscriber. I think he's owned every Amazon device he knows a lot about books. He's an avid reader, so he can help frame questions about, and he's used the Publica app already. So let's start with Dante. Dante, what do you have from the publicans community?
Yeah, so the community members have had a lot of questions with regards to the project. I know that they've been waiting for some answers, so I'm kind of looking forward to dig right in.
Okay.
So the first question that we got was with regards to cryptocurrencies in general. Community members wanted to know, or readers wanted to know, if they need to be aware of or know anything about cryptocurrencies in order to use Publica. How seamless would their experience be with regards to not really understanding the cryptocurrency space?
Sure. I think a good analogy might be your car. Some people like to just buy a car that recognizes them when they walk up to it, and they sit in it and they punch a button that says, I want to go to the office, and the car finds its way to the office. And that, of course, I'd like to have one of those cars. And I think some people already have those cars. And that would be our ultimate goal as far as cryptocurrency, where if you don't know anything about it and don't want to know anything about it, no reason you should. The Publica project is it's a platform, right? It's more than just the reader's experience. We also have the author's experience. We have other publishers' experiences. We have the Publica guide experience. And we've got lots of experiences that we're serving with this platform. And many of those people definitely want to know about the cryptocurrency involved because that's their money. So we're sort of taking it step by step, and we're very open and transparent. So you can see our software, and if you download the app today, you can write to Publica, and we'll help you with that. Or if you join one of our giveaways or experiments, like my favorite was the token heard round the world. That was fantastic, where one publican bought a book and then they gave it to another one. Right, that was fantastic. Can't do that. Can't do that there in Bland, where you live. Actually, you can. In fact, I think you did, but you can't do it with the other publishers that you're more familiar with. So that's very exposed right now in the app. You can see everything that's happening right there on the screen, and we think that's helpful as part of the education process. But for those of you readers who don't want to see anything under the hood, you don't even want to find a key, you just want the car to recognize your face and drive you to the office. Yeah, we'll get to that. It's just typical roadmap stuff.
Great, thank you, Joe. I think that kind of, that answers another question that we had with regards to being able to purchase Pebbles via the app. So basically, I think it would just be all under the hood, and it wouldn't necessarily be a problem for those who are new to the space.
Yeah, if you want it under the hood, absolutely. But since cryptocurrency, so the Publica e-reader app is a wallet as well. So the blockchain era is here. right? It's a critical technology in many industries right now. It's normally what you would call under the hood or in the background or in the engine room, like at a bank or something. But this is clearly a consumer retail application, especially from the reader's point of view. And so it's going to be their early experience with how a blockchain will affect them personally. And the most notable thing will be that if because the blockchain is autonomous and decentralized, that's one of its superpowers. But the other part of it is that if you lose your password to your books, we can't help you get it back because we'll never know what it is, right? Because that wallet could also be holding cryptocurrency of yours. And so you don't want to give us that access. Obviously, you should back up your passwords and give copies to your loved ones or something, right? But Publica can't be responsible for what's in your wallet in that sense, because the money that you buy the books with, right? It doesn't go to Publica; it goes to the person you're buying it from, right? And right in return, the blockchain returns to you the book token, right? That's what we like about it. It's automatic. It's decentralized, it's perpetual, it's reliable, it's 24/7, 365. These are all great things. At the cost of, if you lose your password, nobody can help you.
Yeah, I think it's very important for readers in the future to understand that regardless of the seamless experience that they may have, security is in their hands ultimately in terms of securing their wallet. Yeah.
And I think so another know that in general. I just want to point out that the reading a book might be your first experience of it. I certainly know it. You know it, right?
Yeah, very good point. So another question that I've received numerous times, Joseph, is with regards to textbooks. So, you know, a lot of community members would like to know if Publica has ever considered or made efforts within the textbook market. You know, I've actually had a lot of students private messaging me and telling me that for them it would be fantastic to be able to buy and sell textbooks on the Publica secondary market.
That is my favorite question of all. Speaking of textbooks, I got that music trophy at school. Yeah, that's my favorite because the blockchain will make an impact in many parts of publishing, but one of the ones that has really been asking for an impact is scholastic or educational or academic publishing. It doesn't work anything like you know, Amazon Kindle, for example. It's very complex, mostly in economic issues, and that's what blockchains are really good at. So, for example, because like we did in the Token Heard Around the World book, you can buy books. I could buy books for my nieces and nephews without having to give them my credit card. So I'm looking forward to that. And they can then resell that book, and the rights holder can get a portion of them reselling it. Now, you might say that and that effectively turns those students into you know, a temporary salesperson of the book, but they know who needs the book, right? They're in the class. They know who's coming behind them. And if the rights holder of the book doesn't like that idea, or they have you know, a captive market in some sense, and that's part of their business model, they can turn that feature off. But universities they're not really making their living from book retail to their students. That's really not their main function. But the authors of scholastic books, they're often collaborators, by the way. It's often many authors. And the rights holders of the books often aren't the authors themselves because they wrote it while they were being paid by an institution. So it's completely different from the independent author entrepreneur economic model. So the blockchain is offering all of them a way to build their business model, the one that does work for them, including true digital ownership, so that the book tokens, as they pass from whether it's student to student or student to bookstore, back to student, or from uncle to student. Whatever is right for the business model of the rights holder of the book, we can program that into the blockchain. And then what I think is going to happen next, and this is why this is my favorite question, is that those books, I've said before, books are how humanity helps itself. And those books now, if they're on the blockchain with trusted commerce, digital trust, in the same way that cryptocurrency was quickly adopted in the remittances market, which is, basically people leave home to work and then they want to send money back home. It worked so well because of that digital trust, because it's instant, because it just works better. And that's what we know about cryptocurrency. And I think that in scholastic books, it's just going to work better for all the different business models, and it's going to spread those books further around the world. And I think that's a good thing for everybody.
Great. Thank you very much, Joseph. I think I'm going to hand over to Bland to ask a few questions. Bland, would you like to take away?
Sure. Yeah, boy, I've got a lot of questions for you, Joseph, and thanks for inviting me to this. And as Joseph said, I've been an Amazon customer for a decade at least, and moved from purchasing physical books to books online with various platforms. And I've used Google and iBooks and Amazon, but for me, I guess because I'm lazy, I've just typically think about Amazon first as a place to go to buy books, because I buy everything else there. Because it's so convenient. But there's obviously a lot of things that you don't realize. I didn't realize when I looked at the EULA that Amazon can take those books away from me at any time, and I've got no recourse. I can't get my money back, and I was livid when I found that out. But that's sort of an attribute that they have that I wouldn't necessarily call a feature. But I want to talk about, because I've used a number of platforms, and I think our readers are coming from some other platform if they're into ebooks at all today. Joseph, could you just kind of give us a thumbnail on what is the same using the Publica app, and what will be different that they can't get now with whatever they're coming from, whether they buy from Kobo or Goodreads or Barnes and Noble or whoever. And one other comment on that. I think that it seems we have some. No, I'll save that question. Yeah, so if you could just kind of give us a thumbnail comparing and contrasting the Publica app to the other ones that people are using today.
Okay. It's actually pretty simple. It's actually an easy answer. Why not copy every good attribute? That's easy. That's the easy one. And why wouldn't I? They're visible. We're software coders. There's nothing tricky about any of them. So the fact that you've already found an app or a site or a book source, or in my case, I have several, but you found one you like, yeah, we'll just do the same. With some important exceptions, there are some things we won't do. For example, we won't allow anyone to delete a book from your device or from your account. We never would want to, and we're quite certain that it's not possible. So that's why we put the book tokens right into your wallet, and you have the password, and there's nothing we can do about it. They're yours. So that's a feature or an attribute that we won't copy. The possibility to control your books. Once they're yours, they're yours. Another one that we're not going to copy is when you buy a book in our app, and I know you're married, I've met your wife. If you want to give it to her to read, you can't do that with the devices you have, and we think you should be able to. So you can definitely do that. And that's why we ran that experiment, the token heard around the world. And I'm glad that you joined it, because you personally experienced what that's like to receive a book and give a book with the rights holders, decision on whether you would have to pay them for that or not, and under what terms. And then, and just one little codicil to that, which is another feature that or attribute that we won't copy, is if you want to buy your wife a book for her birthday, I think you should be able to do that. And with Publica, please buy your wife a book for her birthday. I know she likes books.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Joseph. I actually tried that on Amazon, and I was so frustrated because I couldn't figure out how to give somebody a book. I wanted to buy it for a gift, and you can't. There's no way to do it. And I guess Dante already covered so the reader won't really have to know anything about cryptocurrency. We keep talking about the Publica experience as if they were using it like they would use any other book discovery site. But I think you've talked a lot about Publica as a means of buying a book. It's a transactional model, but a lot of people that are going to be using Publica will actually be buying books directly from the author on the author website. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I hope they do, because I think the author deserves it. Some authors have passed away, so they don't have websites, but certainly the ones who do have websites, you should buy from them directly, or their rights holder, and anywhere else you find them. But I hope you find the books close to the author. Yeah, what's the experience of that? I just shook my camera. Sorry. It's like this. You hold up your camera phone to their website, and there's a QR code, and off you go. So that would be that experience. And but maybe you will discover a book or an author while you're looking through the Publica app. That certainly can happen, because we do have a library of the books that are for sale there. The good news is we're not exclusive, so there's no any other publisher could tell the author, I don't want you to publish on Publica because I don't want any money. That sounds funny, but I think you get my point. But that hasn't happened yet. But that's the only obstacle that could be to get any book into our library. So we're working with partners on the mechanical part of just getting the books, where we can find them and see the cover and give them a price for the rights holder. For those who, some rights holders, they're not holding a book ICO of their own to set their own price. It may be coming from a distributor or something, like the classics that we used in the Token Heard Around the World experiment. So discovery is important to the reader. And as we explained in our first white paper, we think discovery means whatever tool you use for discovery. And as you let off with Blend, you've learned to start looking for books in your Amazon account. But the rest of the world, and you can now do it any way you want to. Yeah.
Recently I've started using Google Books, and it's a slicker, easier experience than Amazon, certainly. And I think I'm looking forward to the Publica experience as being very slick and easy, especially since my wife's an author. If people come to her website and they're looking at her books, it makes it very easy for them just to click on something. And I didn't think about just holding it up to a QR code. That's even cooler. Mm-hmm. So a question about I know Publica is an open platform, and you're encouraging authors. In fact, as a Publica guide, I'm working with a number of authors who want to publish on Publica, and they're all excited about it for all the attributes that it brings to an author that they can't get with other platforms. But a question about censorship and protecting from plagiarism. I mean, anybody can put a book on Publica, but are you going to have a mechanism to figure out, did they just plagiarize that book from somebody else and they're putting it up to try and get money, or if they're putting up totally objectionable content like hate hate crime stuff. Is there going to be any kind of a censorship that Publica will provide?
Okay, so that was plagiarism, censorship, and
yeah, just those two: plagiarism and censorship.
So plagiarism today is best done by plagiarism detection is best done by the existing online services that do that because they've been mining the web for years, and there's no need to remake that wheel. And so if an author discovers that or a rights holder discovers that someone is making money off of their work, then we can certainly participate in the legal process to put an end to it. Of course, if a plagiarist had collected some money prior to them being detected, then we can't take it back from them, but that's what courts are for, and courts do that just fine. Your other question was censorship?
Censorship
Yeah.
of
Okay.
objectionable content.
Yeah. I'm glad this question's coming from an American, because I'm American too. America elected Donald Trump recently, so it's a little unclear what Americans think censorship is right now. But the rest of the world is also concerned with censorship of all kinds, and there are worldwide differing opinions on that. So there's nothing. Publica isn't going to be the world's police. That would be silly. But more importantly, the Publica staff. I've told them many times, if you see something horrible, just turn off your computer and don't look at it again. Right? I mean, there's no reason why you need to be involved personally because of your job. It's not your job to do disgusting things. If someone, certainly we're not going out and looking for objectionable books. We don't have any reason to. But I think the edge case that you're looking for would be the book ICO, where someone wants to publish hate speech or
right.
And or from a war zone. History is full of war zone examples where the winner decides what should have been censored before the war. I worked at the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, and so maybe I'm sensitive to that. But who decides, especially in a war zone or genocide area? So in a book ICO, I think that if someone offers their book, in pre-sale, and it just disgusts the people who work at Publica, they probably will just turn off their computer, and on an individual level. But putting up a website and book ICO to the general public, yeah, I think if a legal authority calls Publica and says that's illegal, that book, and then we will definitely respond to our legal obligations, of course.
Okay. Yeah, a related question, Joseph. I know some governments are more into censorship. In fact, that they can censor what people read and see, and they can censor stuff on the World Wide Web. But the interesting thing is that blockchain transfer of books and other materials isn't, it seems to me, it's kind of below that level of where they can censor. Can you describe just a little bit, without getting too technical, about how Publica can actually sell books worldwide and go totally around these censorship walls?
I'm not sure we're going to go around censorship walls. I think you meant internet.
Internet.
Okay, countries that block internet.
Yeah,
pages.
They block at the World Wide Web, at the web level.
Yeah. So, any website that we make, like Publica.com, no, it's not going to be magic and walk around their blocks. No. The book tokens don't actually. That's one of the good parts of a blockchain is the same reason that cryptocurrency works everywhere is it's not a web page, right? It's just it's a byte string that goes in a ledger. So maybe you mean the book itself, right? The content of the book.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that it's not dependent on the World Wide Web level, but it's the transfer across the internet at the TCP/IP level, which is certainly much harder to, or essentially impossible for them to censor the delivery of the tokens.
Yeah, well, no, the tokens, that's not what they want to censor, right?
Yeah.
If you've ever seen a token, it looks exactly like, a really long URL at the top of your browser. That's not what they're trying to censor. They're trying to censor the content of the book, I imagine, or maybe an illustration, something like that. Yeah, if they find it, they'll probably block it. But there's nothing about blockchain that would help them.
Yeah. Okay, another question is, we talked about Publica primarily for books. What about other sorts of content, audio books, videos, those sorts of things? What are the plans for that?
So those are just other forms of digital media. We're starting with books because, hey, we're following Jeff Bezos' advice. Right? Start with one thing, do it extremely well, and then expand from there. And so we're going to do books extremely well. And we understand that book content can be morphed into, it can be reproduced in audio form and graphic form and maybe even moving image form. So in our white papers, we discuss that as another token that we have in mind in our future called the rights token. Because, well, I'll just try to make it relatable to you. When I buy a book, a lot of my favorite books up here, that's my bookshelf, in paper, I also bought an audiobook and an ebook of the exact same title, right? And I do that I'm very glad that I can do that. And I have good reasons for it. They're not the same experience. And yeah, we need to add those to the platform because they're part of a book's life. But the reason we're talking about the rights token down the road is that in rights, that's why we called it that, it's a little more complicated than just buying a book. Right? That's so simple. Let's get that done. But what if the author sold you the book token, but the audio version comes from somebody else, as it often does? And the author basically says to the other person, hey, you do the recording, you send me some of the money if you make some. And the same with movies and games and theme park attractions and everything else. So to make that a little clearer, there's the book tokens now. That's what you have on your phone. And the rights tokens are later to help make that transaction work better for everybody.
Okay, so today is what, April the 5th, and I know this is going to go onto the internet. You're just about to attend a couple of conferences, in particular the book fair in London next week, I think, and you're going to be doing some announcements. Can you just give us a thumbnail of the rollout schedule, what features are going to be in the first app that the readers can buy, and about when will that be available, or not buy, can get for free? So what's going to be in version 1 and what's planned for subsequent versions, and what's a basic timeline? Because I know a lot of people that I'm talking to are getting very excited about using Publica, and they say, well, not quite yet. So when's it going to happen? When's the rollout?
That's actually not a question for me. So I'll try to get that for you. My job is to be on the stage and talk about it and to show it. So yes, at the Independent Book Publishers Association, starting this Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Austin, Texas, I have the app on my phone, and I will, and I've bought and sold books, and I'll keep doing that. Mine's an Android, although I think the last time I did it, I was using an iPhone. In terms of apps on app stores, that's ultimately up to the app stores when they release it. So we'll definitely announce it just as soon as you can download it from the App Store. People that are using it right now, they got it from us with what's called a private testing link. Hundreds of people. But what you would call general release to the whole planet, we're way ahead of schedule in this project. So let's just summertime.
And I like to read books on my PC, which is a convertible tablet. Is very convenient. So you're going to have a web browser version as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, every attribute that you like about your book experience, we will replicate it eventually.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So Dante, I think throw it back over to you. I'm sure you've got some more questions.
Yeah, definitely do. So Joseph, you and Bland briefly touched on the policing of content a little bit earlier. Another question that I received was with regards to what we're going to be doing with regards to tackling the issue of fake reviews on the platform for books, because apparently
reviews.
This is an issue for Amazon and others.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's not really an attribute of books, but it is an attribute of finding books and choosing them. So Bland's experience, where he is now, it's kind of automatic for him that when he thinks book, he signs into Amazon first and then starts looking. And I think Bland knows that in the best case scenario, 15% of the world's titles will turn up in an Amazon search, assuming you're signed into the right country. So we don't see any advantage to replicating that attribute either. Of course, in our app, anything that has been already published in Publica search, right? But I don't think that reader reviews are the right way. Certainly not in the blockchain decentralized, we're not messing with your business kind of way. As you know, robots and people have gamed the Amazon review system many times. We don't see any reason to duplicate that either. But we do, and I'm glad this came from you as a community manager, because you understand that, but the community does matter. It matters a lot to the author, and it matters from reader to reader. So what we want to do is make sure that however you discover books, in or outside of Publica, that it's dead easy for you to then buy it, right, from the blockchain smart contract that the rights holder put up.
Okay, great.
Joseph, can I just add a comment on that? I noticed in the early days of Amazon, I thought the reviews were useful, but as you said, they've been gamed so much now that I don't even read the reviews anymore. It's they're not a very useful thing.
Bland, I do read reviews sometimes, but can I point out to you that the fact that I read the review doesn't force me to pay Amazon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still free to buy the book anywhere I want.
I wanted to bring up, interject one other comment. In talking to authors, there's an attribute of Amazon and maybe some of the other platforms as well, where the author still has to promote the book. The author still has to get people to go to the website to purchase, and people just go to Amazon to purchase.
Yeah.
But the bad news there is that they don't know who bought. They can see that they sold some number of books.
But Bland, you're talking about the author's experience, and you're absolutely right. But I'm focused on the reader's rights and the reader's experience. And as a reader, the other thing that I don't like about my discovery process on but the ones who've copied Amazon and Amazon, what I don't like about that as a reader is that it makes all the authors look the same. And they're not commodities. They're not rice. They're not corn, right? So that's why I kind of hope that readers will stick to their discovery tools that they're already like and that work well for them, and that they eventually learn about the author from more varied, diverse, and representative sources than what's essentially a shelf in a big retail store.
Well, hopefully, this attribute of allowing the author to communicate directly to the reader and vice versa, to build that community and that bond. There have been so many people that have been in the way of that, the publishers and the people like Amazon, that I think this is going to open up a new era of community and personalization between the reader and the author.
Well, good, because that's what blockchains are really good at, and community managers like Dante.
Yeah.
Okay, Joseph, so I actually have one more question for you. This one relates to author and user uptake. So a lot in the community have mentioned that they feel that the biggest hurdle for the project will be exposure to the masses, which then would translate into user or reader uptake. The community wanted to know what your plans are to expand outreach to authors, and if any partnerships are on the horizon from the author point of view.
Okay, adoption and author outreach and partners. So worldwide adoption, the good news is, since we've just been talking about Amazon, 96% of the world hasn't logged into Amazon yet. So that's a big enough world for me. And half the world in 2018 is when half of the people will be online around the world. So, there's no obstacles. Other book experiences have had obstacles, mostly territorial. If you're an Italian publisher, there may be legal reasons why you're only able to sell in Italy. So you may be well adopted in Italy, but not in Spain. That happens. We don't have any of those problems. So it's just awareness, typical internet communication, the kind of community management that you do. It'll spread by word of mouth. But we're not resting on that because Publica was funded with an initial coin offering. And that's what we're supposed to spend it on, is whatever it costs to essentially market the concept. We have Publica.com, right? That's not a trivial thing. Advertising is easy, right? But marketing means much more than that. It means speaking to people in the way that they want to be spoken to. And that just means, that's why I go to book conferences and we go to blockchain conferences. So we do it in person and the traditional web ways. And if you wonder, should we do more or have we done more? Well, bear in mind that this is a project that started from scratch. And so we've got a lot of technical things to do, smart contracts, protocols, apps to write, lots of testing. There's a lot of, we're in that process now. And the adoption, public awareness kind of thing that I think is the intent of that question, we believe that should be done mostly after, as Bland pointed out, you've got the app on your phone and the books are for sale and the authors are engaging with you to buy their books, which leads to the author outreach. I talk to authors every day. And, they're sort of they feel the same, they want to see it on the App Store, right? Because the money goes instantly to their wallet. That's one of the things they love about it. And the secondary market. So the announcements of the most famous authors, those announcements should come from the authors themselves. And then of course we'll be there, but we shouldn't announce it in front of them, and because they're famous, and they all have their schedules, right, in their lives. So we're in their schedules and in their lives. It's going to happen. But there's also quantity of books. So we do have a partnership and a pilot project underway that produced the books that you see in the library now. And that partnership basically leads to most of the world's ebooks. It's just a question of getting the rights holders to understand how they get their money, because blockchain is a little bit different, right? It's not a Visa card or a PayPal for that, but they will get their money.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Joseph. I can tell you that you've helped me in understanding thoroughly, and I can obviously then translate this to the community. But thanks for elaborating on all the nagging questions.
And thank you,
Joseph. I've got
these are hard questions to answer succinctly because we're not familiar with it, and that's why I'm going to Bland, because he's been reading and working. He's been around books forever, so this is something new, and I'm glad that he's here.
Well, I tell you, Joseph, it's so much fun to talk to both readers and authors and explain all of the wonderful things that Publica will bring that they've never had before, and to watch their eyes open up. So I'm just excited about it. I have one last question for you. You talk to authors and to readers all the time. You're out there talking to people. What questions are in your mind that they've asked that maybe Dante and I haven't asked you? Are there any that we didn't ask, that we forgot to ask?
Yeah, there's an author who actually sells books for other authors. So she's kind of half author, half publisher. And that's brilliant, right? I mean, it's really working for her and for the other authors. And that was part of my inspiration of the blog post, "A Billion Stories with a Common Linkage." It just makes sense. And she asked about, well, I guess it's sort of like the question you asked about, the author's webpage, but she pointed out that she's got affiliate links as well. So that's another layer of commerce that today is done with web tools and e-commerce. And she wanted to know if we could also put that through the smart contract. That's kind of back in the woods for most people, but it's actually important to authors and getting books out to the readers who want them. And the answer to that, of course, is yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Joseph. And thanks for having us here. Thank you, guys. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll do this again soon. And just keep watching Dante on the community channels. And Bland has a website, publicaguide.com, because he's an independent Publica guide. Check them out, and I will see you soon. Bye, publicans. Bye-bye.